Hey guys, it's your girl Yem, and I'm coming to you live from the spot. Listen, today we are starting our new series on identity. I'm super excited to talk about this because I believe that God put a lot of things on my heart to share. But before we go really deep into the whole identity discussion, let me just share my own personal experience. When I was growing up, I got my identity from my parents fully, as I think most people do. Whatever they did, I did. However they acted, I acted. Whatever they said, I said. That was who I was. I got my identity from my parents. So it just so happens that my parents are Nigerian and they moved to the U.S. So I grew up in the United States, and it was a very interesting time. So my parents raised us in a very Christian and a very traditionally Nigerian way. Okay, so like we were very, very traditionally Nigerian. But apparently it wasn't Nigerian enough, because when I would get around Nigerians, they would just call me American. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I would go to school with the Americans, and then they would call me African.
Because, they don't always distinguish between the African countries. That's a whole different discussion for another day.
But anyway, they would call me African. So then I was like, wait, so I'm not quite Nigerian enough and I'm not quite American enough. So who am I? What am I? What is this? And so I kind of had this sort of confusion really about who I was, because it's like I wasn't really accepted in any group. So to help myself and to cope as a coping mechanism, I just said, well, I'm Nigerian American. Like I got the best of both worlds. And then that was how I just helped myself, through this sort of slippery slope of identity. But as I grew older and older, my identity started to develop based on, friends and different kinds of influences. I remember when I got to college and I was majoring in engineering, like being an engineer was like my whole identity. Like that was who I was. I was part of the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, and that was like my identity, So there's all these things that typically, pour into who we think we are. When I graduated from college, I soon discovered that, those things aren't necessarily who I am.
Though they do make up who I am.
And I started to feel God calling, God pulling on my heartstrings. And he's like, Yem, come to me. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's come to Jesus. And that started me down on a whole new journey of identity and discovering who I really, truly am. And so I have 4 questions that I'm going to review in this series. First question is, do you know God? Do you know God? And that question is based on the fact that we are created in his image. So if we're created like him, do you know him? The second question is, do you know that God knows you? The third question is, do you know what God says about you? And the fourth question is, what do you now know and say about yourself? So we're going to explore these 4 questions in this series, and I'm super excited to go deeper on this. Now, in my short clip, I asked 2 questions that I wanted you to answer, and I still want you to do that. So make sure you drop them in the comments. What do people say about you? And what do you say about you? Who do people say that you are? And who do you say that you are? So I want us to really explore those questions over the next several weeks of this series. And I hope that you are blessed. Once again, this is your girl Yem coming to you live. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section, and share the video. Go and watch my previous series on rest. You will be blessed. Until next time, guys. Bye.